Good morning, everyone. My name is Alessandro, and I have been working in the industrial automation sector for several years. I specialize in centralized extraction systems and air treatment. Today, we are here to present this new blower, which uses the same type of motor that is widely used in centralized vacuum systems. Since this motor draws air in from one side and pushes it out from the other, we decided to install it in reverse in order to create a device that blows air, in other words, a blower. We chose this type of motor because it is one of the oldest motors in the world and also the most widely used across industry in general. Not only in air treatment but throughout industrial applications, especially in the most demanding environments. This is precisely because this type of motor is sealed. It is closed and protected against dirt, dust, acids, and all those industrial environments that can be particularly aggressive. Here it is, this is the motor I was referring to. It is a standard three-phase asynchronous motor. This example is an older model, relatively small in size, shown simply to demonstrate the type of motor. Its key characteristic is that it is completely sealed. By sealed, I mean that it is closed on both sides, and even if you look at the fan area, everything inside is fully enclosed. On both sides, only the bearings protrude, and the fan is mounted on one of them. This makes the motor extremely durable and long-lasting because it is impossible for hair or dirt to get inside. That is why we chose to use this type of motor inside the blower, even though it is a very old design. On this side, the impeller is mounted. This is the component that actually generates the airflow. As you can see, the impeller is a separate unit and has nothing to do directly with the motor itself. This motor was chosen because, in centralized systems, it is often used 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. These motors are designed to run for many hours continuously without particular issues. In fact, some of them last for decades, which makes them extremely reliable. So where is the innovation if we are using one of the oldest motors in the world? The innovation lies in applying modern technology to this type of motor. In industrial environments, particularly in air treatment, but also in many other sectors, those who work in industry are very familiar with devices called inverters. These are essentially frequency converters. In our blower, we decided to install an inverter in order to increase performance compared to what this motor would normally deliver. Put simply, what does this mean? It means that this technology allows a smaller motor to blow with the same force as higher-powered blowers. In addition, in our case, the inverter allows us to vary the motor speed, which would otherwise be fixed, and it also protects the motor from overcurrent. Let me give you a very simple example. If a blower is running at full power and the outlet hose is suddenly blocked, in traditional blowers the motor would continue running until it overheats. At that point, either the protection breaker would trip or the motor itself would be damaged. With an inverter, however, the system detects the increased current draw and automatically stops the motor. It then displays a message on the screen indicating that the current absorption is higher than it should be. In this way, we prevent the motor from burning out. Another important feature of inverters is their internal cooling system. They have their own fan to keep them cool. However, if for any reason the temperature rises too much due to dirt or other factors, they are equipped with temperature sensors that allow them to protect themselves. If they become too hot, they stop and display a message indicating excessive temperature, essentially saying that cleaning is required. Ideally, this situation should never be reached because it means the unit is extremely dirty. That is why it is important to keep the ventilation grid clean and perform the maintenance recommended in the user manual. I will now briefly show you the inside of the machine to help you understand how it works. This is the impeller or blower unit. As mentioned earlier, it draws air in on one side and blows it out on the other. The incoming air passes through this filter where hair, both coarse and fine, is stopped before entering the system. The air then flows through the impeller and exits from this side, where the outlet hose is normally connected. As you can see, the entire machine is lined with sound-absorbing material. These motors are already much quieter than traditional cylindrical blower motors, and with the added sound insulation, the noise level is reduced to around 70 decibels, compared to 85–90 decibels for traditional tube-style blowers. There is a reason for this difference. Traditional cylindrical blower motors typically run at around 15,000 revolutions per minute, while these motors operate at around 3,000 to 3,300 RPM with the help of the inverter. They use a much larger impeller, which allows the same amount of air to be moved with fewer rotations. The combination of this motor type and modern inverter technology allows this blower, despite having a relatively small motor, about 1.5 kW, to deliver airflow strength comparable to larger units, while achieving significant energy savings. Let's now move on to a quick practical test. This component here is the main power switch used to turn the machine on and off. Otherwise, the display would remain on when the system is not in use. This is the speed selector. We chose a selector rather than a rotary potentiometer because potentiometers tend to cause problems over time. Finally, the display. This display could perform many functions, but in our blower it is used only as a start and stop button. It also shows the current motor speed and the instantaneous power consumption in kilowatts. We turn it on and start at speed level 1, which is the lowest. As you can hear, the startup is very smooth. The inverter also performs this function by preventing current spikes. At speed 1, the power consumption is minimal. This speed could be used for small tasks or small dog breeds. Moving to speed 2, the airflow increases while still remaining under 1 kilowatt. For small dogs, this level is already sufficient. Increasing further, we reach nominal power absorption. This airflow level is more than adequate for drying small dogs. At maximum speed level 4, many users report that it is more than sufficient even for larger dogs. The motor runs at around 3,500 RPM and absorbs approximately 1.9 to 2 kilowatts. Once the motor reaches operating temperature, which takes about 10 to 15 minutes, power consumption stabilizes at around 1.9. The motor temperature reaches approximately 55–60 degrees and remains stable even after many hours of operation. This is because the airflow does not pass through the motor windings but through a separate channel, keeping the motor temperature stable. After about 15 minutes, the temperature stabilizes around 52-55 degrees C, warm but not hot, allowing the hose to be held comfortably by hand. Most importantly, this prevents excessive heat that could damage the coat, maintaining better results compared to traditional cylindrical blowers. In terms of power consumption, once at operating temperature, we are around 1.8–1.9 kilowatt, comparable to traditional dual-motor cylindrical blowers with carbon brushes. Another important feature of this motor is that it has no brushes. It is completely sealed, requiring no internal maintenance. Now let's briefly move on to cleaning and maintenance. This blower was designed to require minimal maintenance and to be extremely long-lasting. Approximately every 2 to 3 months, depending on usage, the blower should be opened from this side. As you can see, there are no screws requiring tools. All fasteners can be loosened by hand. We recommend performing this operation while the machine is still warm, as the hose will be softer and easier to remove. Start by removing the clamp, then take off the hose. Loosen the 6 screws, and once the blower is opened, it will look like this. Once opened, you will find hair accumulated around this area. The first step is simply to remove the hair by hand. There may also be some hair inside this area, which should also be removed manually. The filter can then be removed by hand. It is a metal filter designed not to be replaced but simply cleaned. Hair should be removed and the filter can be blown clean using another blower or a compressor. It can be cleaned both from the outside and from the inside outward to remove any remaining debris. Once cleaned, it is reinstalled by hand. Once this is done, you can put it back on by hand. No tools are required. Now let's move to the back. While the filter we just saw needs to be cleaned approximately every 2 to 3 months, depending on how often it is used, this intake here is used only for cooling and air circulation for the inverter. It can be cleaned a couple of times a month. You open it like this, remove the internal mesh, and clean it so that air can flow freely. That's all that needs to be done. At maximum power, the blower absorbs approximately 1.8–1.9 kilowatt. At the moment, the blower is fitted with the nozzle. I'll show you. If we remove the nozzle, as you can see on the display, power consumption decreases significantly. At lower speeds, consumption drops further. At the lowest speed, consumption is around 0.203. The slower the speed, the lower the energy consumption. Even at maximum airflow without the nozzle, consumption remains around 1.2, 1.3. Why did we show you this? Many grooming stations use this blower without a nozzle, mounting it on a stand near the dog, using it similarly to traditional heated foam dryers. Thanks to the constant temperature, it performs the same function without overheating. Regarding the warranty, we offer a 3-year warranty on the entire machine. All internal components are industrial grade, ensuring a very long lifespan. So, 3 years of warranty on the entire machine, with the expectation that it will last much longer. Where can you purchase this machine? We are the manufacturers. It is entirely made in Italy and can be purchased directly from our website www.powerpit.it. In the KUMARK Dryer Station section. It is also available in 3 installments via PayPal or by credit card. You can find all the information for purchasing on our website www.powerpit.it. In the dedicated KUMARK Dryer Station section.